Welcome to Seasons of Life, a biblical perspective for how to navigate life's ups and downs. Do you feel overwhelmed? Or do you feel successful? Experiencing loss? This weekly 15-minute word of inspiration will motivate you to live with more wisdom and peace. Here is your host, Pastor Mercy Oduah.
This is Seasons of Life, a biblical way for handling your life challenges. Seasons of life are unavoidable, the good and the bad seasons, and I'm here to offer you a spiritual guide and support as you go through the ups and downs of your life. I am sharing from my Seasons of Life experiences, hoping they will benefit you as you go through the ups and downs of life. If you are watching for the first time, welcome. Please kindly subscribe and share this video in your platforms so that we can become a community of support. Today, episode 35 will examine the reason why some of us go through life challenges for a long time. Today, episode 35 will examine why some of us go through life challenges for a long time. You have been waiting for a long time for that excellent job, for that breakthrough to happen, for that good relationship to happen, for that abusive relationship to end. You have been waiting for things to just improve in your life. And you look at yourself, you're getting older and older, and you are looking and asking, God, when will this be over? When will I begin to see the blessings that you have promised me? I want you to know that life presents us with long roads. Yes. However, you must know that God is behind the scene. As much as we prayed, we hope, we wish, God is behind the scene. Life presents us with long, short, bumpy, smooth roads. But the end of it all is that as we are children of God, we must come to believe that God is working behind the scene. The longer and the more complicated road may be challenging, but if God is with us, then we can have the strength and the faith to move on. I want you to know that the shorter roads are not necessarily the best way to go. Yes, there are shortcuts. There are other ways, but they may not be the best way for your situation. Only God, your creator, knows the best way to take you to your destination. So I want us to look at biblical examples of what happened when God decides to take us through a long path to our destination. And one of that story that I really like is the story of the Israelites' deliverance from the land of Egypt to their new freedom, the land of Canaan. And this story is found in the book of Exodus, chapter 13, verses 17 to 18. The verse that really caught my attention was the verse that says that when Pharaoh let the people go, God did not lead them by the way of the Philistines, even though that road was nearer to their destination. God instead chose to lead the people through the way of the wilderness by the Red Sea. The people of Israel, as you know, have been in bondage for over 400 years. crying and waiting for their misery to end, as some of you can identify with their cases. Some of us have been in the wilderness of sickness, wilderness of lack, wilderness of rejection, wilderness of abusive relationship, wilderness of singlehood, waiting for deliverance. So the children of Israel have been in bondage as slaves. And these are the children of Abraham, the descendants of Abraham, God's chosen people. So you see, hardship can come to any person regardless. So they have been waiting for their deliverance. They cried and they longed for the day that God will deliver them. And finally, in fullness of time, through the hands of their leader Moses, God decided to deliver them. God decided to deliver them. And what happened? It was a massive exodus. A massive exodus of people from Egypt to their promised land. And they walked on their bare foot, walking on the ground to their freedom. And this includes the men, the women, the children, the older ones, and their cattle and everything that they possess. They were all marching to freedom by road. And it was I bet it was a very big sight to behold. It was a day of joy and a day of deliverance for them. So you see, in that situation now, you will expect God to take them through the shorter way because children were involved, the elderly were walking too, the animals. So God decided not to take them through the shortcut. Rather, he decided to take them through a longer road to where they are going, to their promised land. That is something for you to think about. Why would God do that? You may ask. Is he not aware that children were there, the elderly? Why would God decide to do this to them? Now, I am telling you that this verse said that God decided to take them through the way of the wilderness instead of the way through the land of the Philistines because God saw war ahead of them. They did not see the war, but God saw war in front that the Philistines might attack them. And then they will be scared and they will run back to Egypt, a place of bondage for them. So because of that, which God knew, God decided to divert and took them to a longer road, the road through the wilderness and through the Red Sea. Can you see that? God was working out for their interest. God was working behind the scene. Even though they might be murmuring and wondering and say, oh, it is so hot. Oh, this road is so far. Moses, why would you and your God allow us to go through this long way? Little did they know that God's decision and judgment, they were for their interest. So whenever we are going through a longer process in life, longer time to get that job, long time to be settled, long time to buy a house, longer time to get a car, and all those things that we desire in life, you must know that God is working out something that your eyes cannot see. Yes. Another aspect of this story that is very fascinating is that even though God did not take them through the shorter way towards the Philistine, God took them through the wilderness towards the Red Sea. Wow, what is God doing? What is going to happen to the Red Sea? Are they going to swim over the Red Sea, or are they all going to enter the boat to pass through the Red Sea? I mean, this is not river, this is a sea. A sea is vast, is big. So what was God doing? God knew what to do. God was walking behind the sea. He was walking behind the scene. So what happened when they got to that Red Sea? The children of Israel were very scared. They were even blaming Moses. Why did you bring us here to die in the wilderness? Why? What is going on? Are we going to be drowned in that Red Sea? The road is longer, and now we are confronting with this Red Sea. What is going on, Moses? Moses cried unto the Lord. And guess what? God said, why do you cry to me? What do you have in your hand? Just a rod, a stick? Stretch it over the Red Sea and let that Red Sea open up for you so that you and the children of Israel will walk on dry ground. Yes, and that was what happened. Moses stretched out the rod on the vast sea, and immediately the sea divided into two parts, revealing a dry ground on the bottom of the sea, so that the children of Israel will walk through to their promised land. Isn't God powerful? Isn't God all-knowing? God is always walking behind the scene. Yes, he led them through the long road with the obstacles because he already knew what he was going to do with that obstacle. He confronted the Red Sea. So I want you to know that as you are going through that long road, that thing that is taking too long to come to pass in your life, I want you to trust that God is working behind the scene for you as well. And if there is any challenges and obstacle, you don't have to worry because God knows what to do with those challenges. So that is very interesting. Another biblical example why God takes us through the long way in life is in the story of Joseph. And this is found in Genesis chapter 37. Yes, a familiar story, but it's loaded with revelation and understanding. You see, Joseph had a dream indicating greatness and leadership. His brother did not like the dream and they acted wickedly towards Joseph. What happened? They put him in the pit, then sold him as slaves to a wealthy man, Potiphar. And while Joseph was in this man's house, the wife of Potiphar accused Joseph of sexual harassment, which Joseph did not commit. And then Potiphar was angry and put Joseph in prison. So while in prison, Joseph waited and waited for a time of release, for a time when somehow his case will be visited and people will know that he did not do anything. It took so long for Joseph in prison. But while Joseph was in prison, he had the gift of analyzing dreams. So he was helping the prisoners interpret their dreams for them. So he helped these two people interpreted their dream, and later those two people were released. And Joseph said, remember me when you go to your king, to Pharaoh. Say something good about me. Wow. Little did Joseph know that the help of man is nothing. The Bible says that vain is the help of man. But God was working behind the scene. The only thing is that Joseph did not know what God was doing. And then, because God was working behind the scene, what did he do? God made Pharaoh to dream a complicated and troubling dream that he could not find anybody to interpret that dream for him. He summoned his magicians, his wise men to interpret that dream. None in the land of Egypt could interpret that dream. And that's when Pharaoh heard about Joseph, a young man in prison who had the gift to interpret dreams. What happened? Now, Pharaoh had to summon for the release of Joseph. Did you see that? In fullness of time, God had to cause Pharaoh to dream. And then God had to give Joseph the interpretation of Pharaoh's dream. Did you see how God works? In fullness of time, Joseph was released. Joseph stood before the king and interpreted interpreted the dream of the king accurately. The king was so much pleased with Joseph that he promoted Joseph to the highest leadership honor in the land. Can you believe that? He promoted Joseph and made him a prime minister in Egypt, from prison to palace. But did you know how long it took? Did you know how long Joseph had to spend in prison? The lonely night, the night of tears, the wishing and the longing, people forgetting him. God all along was working behind the scene. Yes. So you must be encouraged and know and trust God concerning that your situation, that God is working behind the scene for you. You see, when the king now brought Joseph and gave him that leadership position, that fulfilled the dream that Joseph had all along. You see how long it took for his dream to come to pass. But God was behind the stage, orchestrating everything for Joseph, but Joseph did not know. So, what is this lesson telling us? You can learn three critical lessons from this story. And the first one is for you to know that God is omniscient. God is omniscient. That is, God is all knowing, knowing the past, the present, and the future. Therefore, he knows why your case is taking too long. And because he is all knowing, you must trust that his decision and judgment are the best thing for you. The book of Matthew, chapter 10, verse 30, says that he knows the very number of hairs on your head. So God knows where you're going and how to bring you to your destination in life. The second lesson I want us to learn from this story is that God is omnipresent. Yes, God is omnipresent, meaning that he is present. At the same time, God is present in your situation. The fact that your situation, that case, is taking too long does not mean that his presence has vanished from you. Far from it. God is present in that situation. He knows and he's present. So you have to trust him. Psalm 46 verse 1 says that God is an ever-present help in trouble. And the last lesson that we need to know from this story is that God is omnipotent. Yes, Omnipotent means God is all powerful. God is not limited by any physical challenges. That was why the Red Sea was not an obstacle to him. God already knew what to do with the Red Sea. So in your situation, as you are going through that long process in life, God in his omnipotent power will handle all the obstacles on your way. All the Pharaohs and all the Goliaths, God will handle them and put them in their right place. Yes, that's what God will do. In the book of Jeremiah, chapter 32, verse 27, he says, "Behold, I am the Lord, the God of all. Is there anything too difficult for me? No." So as I close, I want you to know that God is working behind the scene for you. He did not take the Israelites through the shorter way because he knew that there was a problem for them, and that problem would discourage them. Rather, God took them through the longer path for their welfare, for their own reason, even though they could not see it at that time. So I want you to apply it to that situation that you have been waiting for. Your relationships, your travel document, your health, your finances, and you are saying, "Lord, I am getting old. When will this come to pass?" He will come to pass for you as you meditate on the book of Matthew chapter 10 verse 30 that says that the very number of hairs on your head, he knows about it. So may the Lord bless you. May the Lord cause his face to shine upon you. And may the Lord enable you to go through the longer process leading you to victory. Shalom, and see you next week.
Thank you for watching this episode of Seasons of Life. Until next time, be well, and may God bless you.